Hi, welcome to our podcast, The Humane Way. Here's where we explore leadership through the lens of human centeredness during times of organizational changes, transitions, and transformations. I'm Bhavna BP, and I have with me my good friend Vidya. Together, we would love to take you on a journey. Join us as we delve into real stories, experiences, expert insights, and practical strategies to navigate transitions, inspire teams, and foster resilience in the face of change. Get ready to unlock the power of human centered leadership in every episode. Thank you. Hello, everybody. A very good evening to all. I welcome you all to The Humane Way, a brand new series of podcasts by Let Me Listen and Smile Circuit, where my good friend Vidya and I talk about various aspects of changes, transitions, and transformations in an organizational setting as we look at it through the lens of people centeredness. Well, in 2020, we created our first podcast series, which was on wellness, and that gave rise to our Amazon best-selling book as well. We spoke about what goes into emotional well-being, what are the symptoms one could face, and what is it that one could watch out for, and how to even rise up from that situation. In other words, we also spoke of how to ride the waves of transformation in an emotional setting, of course. Well, the first series was about emotional transformation within us, and in these upcoming weeks and months, we will be sharing stories, experiences, and many other tricks and tips of how leaders can manage crisis, how leaders can take us through changes, transitions, and transformations in any organizational situation. Well, what exactly do you mean by changes, transitions, and transformations? And are there any changes, or rather, are there any differences between the three of them? Well, of course, yes. Changes are those that you may find on an everyday basis. Okay, as we also say, change is the only constant thing. So change sometimes is subtle, sometimes is very well pronounced. Now, what are these changes in that case? In an organizational situation or a scenario, it could be oh, an easy example could be change in your hierarchy or your organizational structure, a new policy that may come in, or mergers and acquisitions, which could be really huge, right? And I'm sure we have all passed through the pandemic situation in a different manner. I mean, that was crisis. That was an organizational change in unprecedented way. Now, what are transitions in that case? Transitions are that entire phase of being, or rather the phase we travel through while we are undergoing those changes. That bit of journey can be called as transition. Now, point A to point B, or rather in change management terms, if as is to be can be termed as where you are to where you wish to be or intend to be, then that phase would be called as your transitionary phase. Now, what are transformations in that case? Transformations are more pronounced. How are they more pronounced? They're more pronounced because they're more long-standing. They're more permanent in nature. Right? So transformation is what happens after these two phases end. If there is something that's more permanent in nature, something that's more, a lot of change, or rather a huge change that you could see in any organization can be termed as a transformational change or a process. Now, what happens? How can I give an example for this? So an example for this could very well be anything that's more disruptive, anything that's here to stay, anything that would change a lot of things for the good, right? So the advent of AI was transformational. So in such scenarios, what happens to people working in an organization? Well, this brings us to the most essential part of the podcast, which is the heart of it all, the human-centeredness at the workplace. Now, what is human-centered leadership in that case? Well, I personally believe that people matter and only people matter. Now, why do I say so? Because as a leader, you may run businesses and successfully at that. You may have various policies or processes and processes and technology in place. But then the one who runs your entire business are your employees, the people who work with you, the people who work for you, the people who are around you. They could be your stakeholders in any format, your clients, your employees, your anybody for that matter. I mean, the entire community, the entire society as well, right? So I personally believe this, and I opine that by creating policies and processes around these employees would actually make a lot of difference for the good in terms of organizational leadership. Now, when we're talking about people, again, that there's one thing that I truly believe. It's that we humans are a bundle of emotions, aren't we? Bundle of emotions and an entire spectrum. When a leader puts their people first, you'll see a marked difference. And how can a person put their people first? How can a leader do so? Right? A leader can basically do that by creating an atmosphere, an environment within the workplace, which is very conducive for each person to be their authentic best, where people can be themselves, the real them, the real you. And it is always seen that they always emulate the leader in you. Therefore, it is imperative that the leader himself or herself is their most authentic self. So when humans are involved, everything revolves around trust. Don't you think so? Trust is what builds connections between people, and therefore everything else is built on that. A human-centered leader builds connections, does meaningful work, and aligns to a bigger purpose in life. And that's when and how trust also grows with them. Your credibility is built that way. When a leader resonates with his or her people for a part of their organization, their values align with that of the leader and that of the organization as well. And this, my dear, is the recipe for happiness and success at the workplace. Well, we've learned or spoken about quite a few things about organizational changes, transitions, and transformations. I unfortunately couldn't have my good friend Vidya here today. I'm sure she will join us for the next episode. And in the next few episodes, we will also be getting leaders from various industries, various organizations around the globe who can relate or who can tell us stories and experiences and how they could manage or how they could exhibit human-centeredness while working and create a smooth change or transformation in their organizations. Well, this brings us to the end of our first episode, wherein it's more like a teaser. I'm sure you were expecting more. Hold on, hold your horses. I would say. This would be only the beginning of an entire journey that we would love to take you on. Thank you.